Peace, y'all. This is Empress Coach Rena Nicole, and this is the AM Inspiration Show to wake that ass up. It is Tuesday, October the 18th, 2022, and this AM, we are definitely going to wake that ass up with part 2 of how to deal with difficult people. With that being said, let this music ride on for another 25, and we're going to hop right into that topic. Peace, y'all. Yes. Welcome back. So yesterday we went over a few ways that difficult people show up in your life, and we also gave some tips on how to, maneuver through that. So today we're going to finish it off with some more tips and some more things, some more ways that they might show up in your life. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today by finishing part 2. Now the room yesterday was the podcast yesterday was about how to deal with difficult people, air quotations, toxic people, or low vibrational, aka negative people. And we literally went on to talk about how their damage lies in their subtly and the way they can engender their classic responses from people because they tell them it's not them, that it's you, right? And they also have you questioning yourself, like whether you're being overreactive, whether you're like being too emotional or overly sensitive, because these are things they tell you. They tell you that, according to them, they should be able to say whatever they want to say to people and treat them however they want to treat people. And your reaction is the problem. You shouldn't react at all. You should just be able to take it because, that's just how they think. They think that as long as nobody treats them that way, of course. So those are a few things we went over yesterday. A few of the things we addressed were how they keep you guessing about which version of them that you're going to receive. We went over that. Also, how they manipulate people, how they show up as manipulators, how they won't own their feelings, They're not great at self-expression or saying how they really feel, so they'll manipulate the situation and actually pull you out of your feelings and sit back and watch your reaction. And they'll also make you feel like you have to prove yourself to them, like you have to prove your love, your loyalty, all these different things that you got to do for them, to make them feel fulfilled in a relationship with you. Another thing we went over is the fact that they'll never apologize. That's just something that won't ever happen. And that apology is definitely going to show up as a gaslight. And another thing we spoke on was they'll be there in a crisis, but they'll never ever, they'll be there in a crisis. They won't be there in a crisis, right? And they'll never share your joy. They always want you to celebrate them. They always want you to be there for them. They always want you to put them on a pedestal, but they never do the same things for you unless it's literally benefiting them directly. If it's like a lineage of benefits for them, they're not interested. Okay. They'll leave a conversation unfinished and then they'll ghost you. Like they won't answer you back. They'll leave you on red. They'll leave you, they'll leave you guessing. They'll leave you frustrated. They'll leave you all these things. And when you kind of start pulling back from them, that's when they'll feel like, oh, you're not a loyal person. You're not dedicated. You're not committed. You're inconsistent because the way they treated you, you don't like it, but they can't even have a full conversation without feeling attacked or disrespected or just they'll find a reason anytime you have a conversation with them to leave it. Oh, I don't want to talk about this right now. Let's talk about this later. And when later comes, it never happens because they then disappeared on you and ghosted you. or whatever they've done, their repertoire. You get what I'm saying? So that was one of the things we discussed as well. And the whole another thing we talked about was how they use non-toxic words with toxic tones, right? So they'll say something to you and they may seem calm and they may seem like, okay, this is normal, but it's very in a condescending tone and it's really, really inciting violence and it's really inciting trouble, so it's like, don't trust it. And then the last thing we talked about yesterday was how they bring irrelevant details in the conversation, um, just to make a point. Even if it is no point, they just want to be like, oh well, I'm, like, child, I can go on and on about the things they do. But that's not the point. The point is to actually bring out some things where people can notice red flags in their relationships so they can develop and they can stop, reevaluate, use some of these tools that we're giving and move forward in their existence the way that they feel is necessary. Okay? That's the one and only point, because this is the AM Inspiration Show, to wake that S up spiritually, consciously, emotionally, physically, financially, soulfully, even metaphysically, if that's what you want to do. Mentally, so keep that in mind. So the next way that they will show up in your existence is they'll make it about the way you're talking rather than what you're talking about. Oh my goodness, I've had this happen to me because, sometimes people that are assertive, they're like, oh, I don't like how you're talking to me. I don't like that you're being disrespectful, when you're literally in like clear tones, you're in calm tones, and you're speaking directly and you're speaking clearly and you're even engaging with them, asking them questions, and they'll find disrespect in that because they're so used to people bending over for them. They're so used for people to coddle them, for people not to stand up for themselves, that they can't take someone who's assertive and they're sure about themselves and they know what they're talking about. So instead of focusing on that, they'll focus on anything that makes them feel uneasy. Like, I don't like how you're talking to me. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Just like we just talked about the last time, when he said they'll leave conversations where they are because they don't want to they don't want to be accountable. They don't want to be criticized. They don't want to answer questions because they probably are not that, emotionally intelligent, obviously, or intelligent enough to answer the questions anyway. They'll find any fault in anything you're doing because they're not in control. They didn't think of it first. They're not in control. So they'll find fault in what you're doing because they want to be in control at all times. Okay. Even if you're showing up, never, ever disrespecting them. Their poor knowledge of effective communication makes them always on edge or angry or prepared to go to war over absolutely nothing. Okay. Now, the thing about that is that you're trying to receive an issue or get clarification. And before you know it, the conversation or the disagreement has moved away from the issue that was important to you and onto the manner in which you talked it, like the manner that you talked about it, right? So that's where the issue with whether you had manners or not, like how you showed up in the conversation. Did you roll your eyes? Like, please, like, if you do any mannerisms with your body or anything that they don't like, that's what the conversation is going to be about now. And then they're going to tell you, this is why I don't listen to you, because look at how you're showing up. After they triggered you, they never want to talk about the trigger. They always want to speak on the reaction. And even when you don't react, they're like, look how dead you are. You don't have an emotion. You don't care about me. You don't, it's just always going to be a problem with difficult people. It's just always going to be a problem with them. They're never going to be satisfied. You can't love them enough. They don't understand what love is. They don't receive love. That's not how they love. They don't understand love. They want to be coddled. They want to be praised. They want to be, they just want your attention, whatever they want it though, because they can go weeks and weeks without talking to you for no reason. They can just do these things, and then come back into your life like nothing ever happened and get upset if you move away from them or move on from them. Okay. So, your initial need when you're speaking to them on these things, is a pile of unfinished conversations, and it grows bigger and bigger. And that's when the resentment steps in, right? Literally, that's when resentment sets in. I'm telling y'all from my experience, that's when the resentment sets in, from all those conversations that go unfinished, from never having that clarity from never, getting your point across, getting your desires across, from always having conversations that never ended. That's when resentment sets in, and that's when you start looking in other directions, like yourself or other people, because you don't want to develop a relationship or a friendship, interpersonal or personal, with anyone that can't finish a conversation ever. Is disturbing at some point. But what point do you choose yourself? That's why I had to ask you. At what point do you choose yourself? Period. Right. So the next thing is that they definitely exaggerate. Okay, they exaggerate everything about themselves. And it's always like they always say things like "you always" or "you never." It's definitely hard to defend yourself against that, because it's a form of manipulation. Okay, those difficult people, they have a way of drawing on like the one time you didn't do something for them, or the one time you didn't listen, and they'll always say something to you like, "Oh, you think everybody is this way," or "Oh, you're always disrespectful." "Oh," or "I'll always have a problem with you." And you're just in your head like, "Since when? I barely pay you any mind. Like, I don't pay you any mind. I don't argue with you." Like, is it in your head, or is this the only thing you have to go off because you want to make yourself look good? you know and at what point do you become exhausted and stop? You have to ask yourself that. Why are they worth so much of your core energy? Why are you fighting so hard to keep a difficult person around you? If they don't want to be loved, then let them go. Let somebody else deal with that mess, because you don't have to. You're not obligated. you know you're not obligated. I'm sorry, you're just not. Um the next one definitely is they're extremely judgmental. If you notice judgmental people, they are the most low vibrational people. And they're the quickest ones to point out somebody else being low vibrational or negative or toxic. They're the biggest ones because they're extremely judgmental. Okay? um Everybody in this human experience is perfectly flawed, and for that reason we all get something. We all do things that people feel like that are not right or not wrong, but we don't like harpering on right or wrong. But because everybody has their own perception, we all know what evil is. That's a different story, right? um but toxic people definitely, or low vibrational people, make sure that you know it. Okay? um, they judge you, and they take a swipe at your self esteem while they're judging you, right? Suggesting that you are less than them because you make mistakes. You know, and if they make a mistake, oh, you gotta coddle them, you gotta tell them how great they are, how they can get through it and everything. But don't ever expect that from them. Don't expect that from them, because you won't receive it. You're not going to receive that from them. They can only focus on themselves. And if that, like I said before, yesterday, like we spoke on before, excuse me, previously, yesterday, was that if they can make you feel bad and siphon your energy from that and feel like you're beneath them and they have control over you, they're going to continue to do that, because you're continuing, like, it's hard to get out of manipulation. We understand that. It's because it's like a cycle of abuse, right? So if they are aware that they cycled you in, they're just going to continue to treat you that way. You're gonna always be like, if you're having a bad day, they're gonna tell you, "Oh, your bad day is rubbing. Now I'm having a bad day because of you." And they might have been having like a bad moment or a moment in their day, and they just made it into a whole day. But even if you're like, if anything, like, okay, say for instance, say like you difficult people, right? I was talking to, like, for example, I was talking to somebody. I was like, "Oh, well, this happening." Like, "Oh, well, this happened to me." Like, who cares? That's all I wanted to say. Who fucking cares? Period. Like, can I have it for me for like 2 seconds, please? It's like a competition with them. Like, or if you're sick, "Oh, I was sick for 2 years." Who cares? How about that? How about that? It's just like they just always have to have the center of attention. They always have to be the focus of a conversation. You know, um, Even if you're just using like your life or experiences or knowledge for examples, they still had to center themselves some type of way or interrupt you with their nonsense. That makes no sense, but they just want to feel like they're in control of you or the conversation. And it's just so sad and it's unfortunate, but yeah, so those are like definitely a few more ways that they show up in your life, because literally, like, when you know that the most favorite thing that a low vibrational, quote unquote, toxic or person, they sharpen your radar, right? they definitely sharpen your radar, because after you experience things with them, you see it in other people so quickly. And some people are like, oh, that's because, they use the word trauma too much. They overuse the word trauma. And a lot of people don't even know what trauma bonding means, but they just overuse it as a way to weaponize it against people who are sharing their experience. Just because they're uncomfortable in their own skin and they can't share their experience, they use it to traumatize or weaponize it against other people that are comfortable in their skin with sharing their experiences. Because they're jealous that they're not the center of attention. Yet again, there we go again. A lot of things are being weaponized against survivors, okay, and people that are actually going through resiliency. People that are actually showing up as themselves authentically, and they're not being inauthentic, pretending like nothing ever happens in their life, and they're just so perfect, and they have the best life ever. And those people that don't show up like that will always be attacked. They will be always under scrutiny. People will always want to manipulate them or control them, because guess what? They can't control what's going on inside themselves. Period. Okay. I'm trying to tell y'all, listen, it's literally when you when you're able to spot a manipulator, it's easier to name it's easier to name the form of manipulation that they're spitting out, that they're projecting, okay? Um it's easier to spot the characteristics of a low vibrational, difficult, quote unquote toxic person, right? Because you have a better chance of catching yourself before you tie yourself to those bonds with them, trying to please them. They will never be pleased because they're unhappy inside. They're ugly inside. They don't care that they need therapy. They don't care that they need help. They don't think that they do. They think they're okay because too many people around them have told them that they were, have told them that they're a great person, have told them that these things about them. They don't care, so they feel like that they're fine. They feel like they're perfect. And it's like that sense of grandiose that they have about themselves, that they feel like they can treat people however they want to treat them because people are beneath them. Okay? Now, some people can never be pleased. And listen, they're just not good for you. And it's just nothing you could do about that. My whole thing is like, my entire thing is, when you notice these red flags of like a situation where you're just like always pouring into someone, and they always have a problem or issue with you, with your love or your support for them, and they're just never happy, they're never willing to like actually solidify your relationship, or like like go public with you, or just tell people that they're your, like you're their friend, or you're their intimate partner, then it's time to walk away. I mean, whenever time you get ready to do that walk away moment, when you realize what's going on, then do so. And please, please don't ever look back, because what's the point of turning back around and cycling back in the same manipulation? But that's how manipulation works, unfortunately. So it may take a few tries before you can actually get away from them. But I say that if that's the choice you're going to make for your life, then do so, and believe in yourself, and believe that once you get away, you're going to be free and you won't have to deal with that anymore. I definitely believe in you, and I wish the best for anyone that's going through a situation with a quote unquote a difficult person, aka a toxic person, low vibrational person, or negative person. I really wish the best for you. I hope that you don't no longer have to coddle them. You no longer have to sit your emotions aside to make them feel complete. You no longer have to wait for them to respond to you for weeks at a time, days at a time, hours at a time. You no longer have to lift them up to put yourself down anymore. So, with that being said, this is the conclusion of our two-part series on how to deal with difficult people, really highlighting how difficult people may show up in your existence, and giving you tools and tips on how to, get away from them, or actually, if you want, some people want to stay, how to deal with them. Up to you completely. Is your life. Make the best of it. Be impactful and be positive. With that being said, this is your host, Empress Coach Rena Nicole, and this was our AM Inspiration Show to wake that ass up. Yes, spiritually, consciously, emotionally, physically, financially, soulfully, and metaphysically, if that's what you like to do. With that being said, we were streaming live from YouTube, Facebook, Clubhouse, Google Podcast, yes, and Anchor, and we were definitely uploaded to Spotify And guess what, guys? We even submitted to iHeartRadio. With that being said, I'll keep y'all updated. And we'll check you out tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 days a week, 365. With that being said, take care, love, light, progression, and blessings. Hey, babe. I didn't. Hey, Crystal. Hi, babe. Thank you so much for your support. XOXO. Mwah.